violence and other kind of violence.
Guess what? I could be at work, at school, in my car, and I can still get shot by the police. But I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.
What's good, YouTube? It's the Black Gen Z Mindset. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, share, and subscribe. And let's get into the video.
Tonight, police say a driver was shot and then crashed into an apartment building. That driver died. It all happened at the Lennox Wood Apartments on Lennox Road, right near Cheshire Bridge Road.
Wow, so you can't even drive on Lennox Road. You can't even drive on Lennox Road, man. Atlanta is getting out of control. Imagine that. You driving down the street, you get shot and crash into... Imagine being in those apartments, bro.
We spoke to a neighbor who called 911.
Well, it was total debris in there. He crashed right into the office, and he was trapped, and he was unresponsive.
Police have not said if they've made...
Wow. Look at that hole. And the destruction of these shootings, man. I mean, he could have got shot. He crashed into the office, hit one of the property managers or something like that. It could have been a lot worse.
Any arrests or if they have any suspects.
Go back now to the breaking news in Fulton County, where a driver crashed into an apartment building, leaving a gaping hole where the living room used to be. The crash happened at an apartment complex on Lennox Road, and police tell us the driver had been shot.
Fox 5's Christopher King joins us live from the scene. And Christopher, you just got an update on the driver's condition.
Yeah, we just got here to the scene just now. We just found out that the driver passed away later after he got to the hospital. Now, take a look at the video we shot earlier. This is some truly remarkable video. A car crashed into a complex. Take a look. There's a big gaping hole there. Police are on scene earlier. Now, police say the victim in this whole altercation was shot and later died at the hospital.
I mean... being in a vehicle, being on the street, being at the movie theater. It seems like you can't go anywhere in Atlanta without somebody getting hit up. They've completely destroyed the city of Atlanta, all in a year's span. And 2022 is going to be even worse.
We are working to get more information on how this all happened and exactly how this man ended up getting shot, how this all broke out. We are working to get that information. Stay with Fox 5 News. We'll get that to you as soon as we get that. For now, we are live in Northeast Atlanta. Christopher King, Fox 5 News.
Christopher, thank you. We'll check back.
Fulton County, where a driver crashed into an apartment building, leaving a gaping hole where the living room used to be.
The crash happened at an apartment complex on Lennox Road, and police tell us that the driver has been shot and later died at the hospital. Fox 5's Christopher King.
The worst thing is nobody's going to get caught. There are no suspects.
Joins us live from the scene. And Christopher, what else can you tell us about what happened out there tonight?
A truly bizarre chain of events, and it happened right here at the Lennox Woods apartment complex. A man is dead after his car hits an apartment building. Police are not giving many details right now, but here's what we can tell you. It happened just before 7 this evening. Now, this is at the Lennox Woods apartments. It's at the 2200 block of Lennox Road. Police say the man was unconscious when they found him, and
guys, I told you how dangerous these apartment complexes are in Atlanta. I mean, if you're living in an apartment, you're liable to have gunfire coming through your home, have vehicles coming through your leasing office. I mean, it's different.
Here's where things get really strange. Investigators say he had a bullet wound in his side. Police say the victim was pronounced dead at the hospital. The Atlanta Fire Department says the man was in a BMW. The unit he crashed into was the leasing office. Now, Fox 5 is working to get more details on how this all happened. Stay with Fox 5 on air and online for the very latest.
And who knows why they shot him. It could have been a targeted thing, although I'm leaning more towards a stray bullet or maybe a road rage incident, because usually if it's targeted, these dudes unleash the clip. So they gonna drop 20, 30 rounds in the car. And he was only shot one time and bled out. So I'm leaning more towards a random shooting or, you know, road rage.
On this ever-changing story, for now, we're live in Northeast Atlanta. Christopher King, Fox 5 News.
This child, so full of energy, according to her family, is going on day 4 of being in a hospital bed, still recovering from being shot at just 4 years old. This happened in the early morning hours of New Year's Day. So I asked her father if he thought that this was celebratory gunfire that might have hit their home. And he tells me no, he believes that their home was hit intentionally.
So this 4-year-old girl that was shot actually turns out to be George Floyd's niece. Now his brother was actually out. Well, he's got a whole bunch of brothers, but you know, his brother was doing like Vlad TV interviews and whatnot. So I don't know if this is his child. I don't think so, but the irony of this situation, and they're targeted, and we know that it wasn't a white supremacist. We know it wasn't that. We know it wasn't somebody, you know, trying to retaliate from the riots that went on in 2020. We know it wasn't that. So, I mean, it's just super crazy how the crime and the community just webs itself in. It touches anybody. Like I said in the last video, you don't have to be involved in anything to get targeted. But in this case, maybe Pops is doing something on the side or whatnot, having little beefs on the side, because we all know that George Floyd was a dysfunctional guy. So it wouldn't be, you know, far off to say that he had a dysfunctional family.
In the same Southwest Houston apartment that our cameras captured 4-year-old Ariana and her family listening to the verdict in the murder of her uncle George Floyd, the child was shot.
She's a great child.
And one thing about, you know, and I'm not trying to, you know, I guess take shots at the family, but from that interview that I heard on Vlad TV with George Floyd's other brother, obviously this isn't the one who was doing the interviews, but George Floyd, he didn't really know his siblings like that. Now, I'm not saying they can't be happy that, you know, Chauvin got convicted and whatnot, but he didn't really know his siblings like that. So, you know, it's just interesting that they're so lit about, like, yay, and throwing parties and stuff for the conviction. And it's like, bro, did y'all really even know bro like that?
And that wasn't for her. She was covered with angels all around her.
Derek Delane says they were asleep around 3 a.m. on Saturday when someone sprayed their 2-story apartment with bullets.
We got a hit right here, and we got a hit here.
The gunfire went in one side and out the back of the first floor, breaking dishes in their cabinet. But far worse, it hit Ariana, who was asleep upstairs.
My daughter jumped up and said, "Daddy, I've been hit." And I was shocked until I seen the blood, until I realized that my 4-year-old daughter was really hit.
Wow, and that is jarring, to say the least, for any parent to deal with. But guys, like, what type of beef was the Pops in? He said that it was intentional, it wasn't no stray stuff. So what you getting into, you know, big dog? What are you involving yourself in some street stuff that's putting your family at risk?
And she don't know what's going on. She was asleep.
The child was rushed to the hospital where she's had surgery and is still recovering. She suffered a punctured lung and liver and 3 broken ribs. Delane says the only way the shooter could understand the pain he's inflicted on their family is if they have children.
She want to be a cheerleader. Hope this don't dance. She want to do everything. So I hope this doesn't hinder her in the future And I think it's not because I believe in God. And I know He work miracles.
Police say at this point they don't have a known motive or suspect in the case. If you know anything, you're asked to call Crime Stoppers at 713-222-TIP.
But first, she stood with her family in the name of racial injustice, and now she's become the victim of violence. The 4-year-old niece of George Floyd was shot on New Year's Day. Right now at 5 o'clock, family members are calling.
You know, it's like they're trying to paint it as if she's some activist. Really, she was just following what her parents were doing. Obviously, they were following the case and they were telling her about her uncle and whatnot. But it's just crazy that this could happen to a 4-year-old girl in the community who was linked to the George Floyd situation. And we all know the presence that Black Lives Matter had in those riots. And it really doesn't matter, okay? And especially if it was targeted, if the guy who shot in the house knew what he was doing, knew the family and all that kind of stuff, like they're saying it was. This is who we have to convince that Black Lives Matter to. Ourselves. People in the community. People around you. Brothers. Even sisters. Okay?
For justice once again. Little Ariana Delano was asleep in her bed, ready to bring in 2022 when a bullet hit her in the stomach.
Her family rushed her to the hospital where she remains tonight on a long road to recovery. All this unfolded at the Park Yellowstone apartment homes just south of Old Spanish Trail near 288. KPRC2's Rowan Belogan is joining us there live now. So Rowan, I understand that you spoke with her father. How's she doing tonight?
Lauren, Chris, her dad says that she's out of surgery and breathing on her own. Now, inside the apartment complex, along with Ariana, were 4 adults and another child.
My daughter would jumped up and say she had been hit, and I seen the blood bleeding, and that's when I grabbed her.
Derek Delane says his 4-year-old daughter, Ariana, was shot early New Year's Day as she slept in her bed. Delane said he had just come back in the house from lighting fireworks when the bullets went flying.
She wasn't out there, but like the grown folks was outside. They was in the house, sleep, getting ready for bed.
So they were shooting fireworks on New Year's Day. It's typical. And maybe one of their neighbors got upset. Maybe one of those guys, he was like, hey, man, y'all too loud. So I'm finna shoot up y'all house. Like, this is what happens in the community. Believe it or not.
4-year-old George Floyd's niece. Floyd grew up and was laid to rest in Houston. His arrest and death led to nationwide protests that called for an end to racial inequality and police brutality. The 4-year-old was hit in her bedroom in the 3300 block of Yellowstone Boulevard in Houston's South Side.
My girl had to jump in the car and rush her to the hospital.
Delane says she underwent surgery for a punctured lung and liver and several broken ribs. Houston police say they don't have a suspect description or motive for the shooting.
She hit him very...
Hold on. The police don't have a suspect or a motive. Well, then case closed. Shouldn't we defund this investigation? Right? I mean, isn't that the logic? Just go ahead and defund this. If they can't find the guy, no need to implement more resources, money, time, manpower. No need to do any of that. You can't find the guy, It's whatever. That's what y'all asking for, right? When you say defund the police. Because that would be the process. Not enough resources to go and investigate a 4-year-old getting shot. Did she die? No. Well, we're not really that motivated to pursue an aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Or an attempted murder. it didn't happen, then it's not in the budget.
Fast. Last time I checked on her, she was breathing on her own. She was doing real great.
Now, anyone with information should call HPD or Crime Stoppers. Live from Houston Southside, Roman Belogan, KPRC 2.
Gang violence and other kind of violence.
Guess what? I could be at work, at school, in my car, and I can still get shot by the police. I can get shot anywhere.
So it is what it is.